All right, welcome to day 2 of my 3-day challenge. And today is going to be a fun one about the target reader profile. Now, as we've talked before, the idea of the author brand and your tagline are the starting point for identifying you and the benefit of reading your books and your stories and who you are as an author to hook somebody. But then I need to know who it is that I really want to read my books, because that's the sweet spot. That's who you need to find your target reader audience to be able to really build out from there for having them also review you and give you recommendations to other friends and all. So with that in mind, if I have my author brand and then I get my target reader profile, now all of the things that I will develop from marketing will be based on that and be able to be more successful than just throwing my books out there on the Amazon or on ebooks or even in paperback and all into that melee, as I mentioned before, about 4 million on Amazon alone. Egads, how do you bubble up, right? So one of the most important parts of this is that in marketing, if you think everyone is your reader or customer, the hint is then no one is. Because if you can't identify who would really enjoy and love your product, you're just throwing ideas out there for people to think they should come read your books. The idea then is that pretty much get passed over, because if it's not resonating with the target market that would really love your book, then no one's going to read it. So one of the pieces of that, well, I take that back. Friends and family may read the book, but to start out, to really get traction, we need to find that target reader that really loves what you write and that wants to tell everybody they know you've got to read this book, right? So that's the way we spread out, because I've had people say, well, everyone will love it. No, just like I mentioned before we started day 2, one of the things is I've had that happen where one of my besties from college, known her forever, and she said, well, so what are you writing again in fiction? What are you writing? And I said, mysteries. And she goes, oh, I don't like mysteries. I was like, oh, okay. So I know I can't have her read it. Or she would probably be one to recommend, if someone does like a mystery, she would recommend my book probably, but it's not the same, is it? It's not the same as that target reader that loves your book, wants to tell everybody because they want to have that companion with them to say, oh, and did you read this part? And did you read that part? Right? That's how we are when we love a genre, if we love an author, if we love the storylines. It's the same way that you feel about something that you buy all the time that is just your favorite, but your best friend doesn't use it, doesn't like it, or they have another reason, whatever. So that's the idea, is that if you think everyone is your reader, then no one is. So think again. So we're going to talk about crafting and developing your reader target and determine their experience with your books. Because if you have a genre that requires certain things to really be a good storyline for readers of that genre, you already have that ability to develop that into it. But the more important thing is creating your marketing strategy and promotional content to reflect that. So it makes it easier for them and they are ready to buy your book. Okay. Now, first, I want you to ask yourself, who reads your genre? And when I say that, I want to build a character, and you could even do little avatars if you wanted. But the idea is that you want to build in your mind who that reader is. Who are you writing this for? This story, this, really amazing mystery, or this really fun romance, or whatever. Who would pick that up in a heartbeat and go, oh, I love it. So I need to have you describe the reader by age, gender, employment, hobbies, And you think, well, I don't really know. Well, you pretty much do know things about readers of, if you are a romance writer or even romantic suspense, same thing. You know, there's all kinds of things out there that tell you, you know, who that is that usually reads romances. Because you know, Amazon is constantly doing all kinds of algorithms to find those people to sell more romance books, right? And I think that that's really important to understand is, you know, there's algorithms always going on in the background with someone like Amazon. I'm sure they do some of it at Barnes and Noble and other bookstores that try to uncover what's going to be the next great one. Publishers are trying to also. They need to know who is the market and is the market big enough to be a value for them to put all of their resources behind it. And you think, well, what age, you know, are the usual ones reading mysteries? What ages are reading romance? What, you know, who's reading historicals? And if not, guess. Okay. But age and then gender, well, you know, is it female or male or both? Do you have people that read both? I would say it still swings heavily female, older age for a lot of cozies and some of the mysteries, the amateur sleuth mysteries and all. But there are still some men that enjoy doing a good mystery, reading a good mystery as well. But just remember, be more critical of your thought process in terms of who is that target reader, because I really want you to get to know your target reader profile well enough that when you're writing anything for marketing, that's in the back of your mind always, to make those words interesting to that profile. You think, well, that's kind of hard. No, not really. It's more the idea of just being aware. If you're going to write a fun little ad, or you're going to put a flyer together, or whatever it is that you want to, your email newsletter, whatever it's going to have, the first step is your branding, so they recognize you. The second step is, why are they going to love this book? And that profile is so important that if I'm going to tell you about my book, it's going to really strike a chord with you. Okay. And it's getting the person ready to buy. That's what marketing is all about, is it's letting people know what's out there and that it might be perfect for them. So that's where we really are thinking of the author brand first, so they know who you are and then why they should read your books. Okay, so some of the aspects of this, if who reads your genre, are ask friends. Like I did, I asked my friend, even though she's not doing what I am right, she's not reading what I write. At least I understand that. Then I go on to the next one because I need to find that sweet spot. Because as hard as I try, I'm not going to get that friend Darcy to read that mystery. It's not her thing. Okay. So ask friends and find those that go, oh, I love an Agatha Christie style book. Perfect. Now, search online for articles or blog posts about who's reading what. Because there's so many people out there, because it's so easy to put things up on the internet, that I feel you can find all kinds of good information just by putting a Google search in and saying, who's reading cozy mysteries? And, ask for demographics, ask for, these things that I'm asking you to identify with your reader profile. So when you go through the internet and you find these, it's really helpful, because it may lead you to also some comp titles. It might lead you to some other things that would really be helpful in determining that reader profile. And try to be as specific as possible. I've just, listed out, the age, the gender. Are they working or not? Are they retired now? Or are they an older reader? Are they younger? What kind of hobbies do they have? If you're writing a cozy and it's about, you're always going to include a recipe, then you're looking for people who also love to cook, or who really enjoy having it tied to a recipe that they could use or they could send on to someone else, a little extra something. that comes with that book. Okay, that's specific. Or they like golden retrievers and your cozy mystery, or maybe it's your regular mystery is all about a golden retriever. Well, good. Then people who love golden retrievers may like to pick up your book. You just understand the ideas as best you can. Find out who that target reader is so that you have the ability to really craft your messages to them in the best way. All right. Next, what other authors are similar to your work? Identify like reads. Now, a lot of things, if you were, a lot of times, if you were going to do a pitch to an agent, you would need to have some comp titles of what are like reads. What are the things that other that readers are picking up and doing that are similar to yours? Who are those authors? What are those titles? Okay, so those are comp titles, right? Well, fine, let's use those. But do you know facts about readers of your genre? Do you know what are those key things that they like, and some of those? And I have this second tier in here as the second point. Make sure they're second tier, not the blockbuster people. If you're a horror writer, you're not going to put up Stephen King. If you like Stephen King, you'll love my book, and you're a debut author. You know, people aren't going to really trust that. But if you found someone, another author, and I like to call them second tier. They're not the big blockbusters that we see all the time, the Jane Pattersons and all of those different ones that are and have been around a long time. But if we're new, or we don't have as many books, or we're changing genres or whatever, look to a second tier, a successful, and that's where an organization like Sisters in Crime comes in really helpful, is that there are a lot of authors in there that have written 30 books, and there's a lot that have written one, or that have written 10. I mean, you can find some other authors and comp titles even within the Sisters in Crime community. But the idea is, don't go for the, don't say that yours is just like, a blockbuster out there. Go second tier, and also look to see who is reading those, and who's, look at some of the Goodreads reviews and things like that to understand what's going on there. It doesn't take you a lot of time, but it is helpful just to see what people are saying about those books, because does it resonate with your book, your story? And then go review the websites of those like titles and try to see how they hooked target readers. Because the thing is, if they're successful in getting people, to really build up their series or whatever, then go look and see the language they use and who they seem to be targeting on their website. Most authors, which I always recommend, that you have your website, right? That you have your office, that you make sure I call it office online, sorry. I always call it website. Your writing business office, because that's where people can go and find out more about you, right? Or should be able to. But the other piece of that is everybody else is trying to do the same thing and be out there so that people can find them as well and their books. So go look, go see what they're doing. I show you all the time these different, wonderful websites, but there is a lot to it when you have a website that you really want to attract target readers and have them come back. They want to, maybe see the whole list of your whole backlist, or just remember that website is really critical in being able to connect with those target readers. Because, I've done it where, and you might have too, where I was starting a cozy mystery series, and then I realized, oh, I wanted to see how many does she have in this series already, and that type of thing. So I would go online and, look her up and, see her website or his website and see what they had, right? So same thing for you. But the idea is, look and see what language they're using if they're trying to attract the same target reader. So if you're having a struggle with it and you go, oh, I really like this whole idea, but I'm not sure how to even start, I have this, the mirror technique, which I think is the best thing ever to start with your target reader. Because, and I'm sure you've heard me say it before, but when you look in the mirror, that's who you wrote the story for you, because you like those stories. That's why you wrote it. And that's what's so fun about it, is that you can look in the mirror and say, okay, so what is it about me? What's my age, my gender? Am I employed or retired? What am I doing for hobbies? What am I doing on social media? Am I online a lot? What do I look for in new authors? Who are the authors that I've discovered recently? Now, once you're doing that, now you have also a really good description of your target reader and can then build from there. And you say, well, but I want others to read it and all. But the idea is it started because you thought it was a good story, that you thought you could entertain someone with this really fun main character and set of characters and the setting and the people. You knew that this was something that you would enjoy. So if that's the case, you're your target reader. That's a great starting point. So what I want you to do is, just for as I'm talking even, just jot down some things about yourself. And it doesn't have to be that you have to say, oh, a certain specific age, just, what's the decade or whatever that you're in, or who might be in your circle of friends, much like you, that have all talked about your book and you're all excited about it. Who are they? What are they, what is it about you guys that is a little group that you can now target to see if they'll be readers for you? Okay. So just take a minute and do just that. If it were me looking to get another book, okay, and it's simple. I love the mirror technique. Okay. As you're doing that, why are your stories worth a read? Now, we all understand that we have to do our best and they have to be well edited. And when I say the best, meaning the best we can do, but also that we have been able to really do a plot that is a real fun and interesting one, that the characters are deep enough that people will like them, or, at least be engaged by them. You get the drift. We have to have a good book, right? Okay, so you have to have a good one, but in that book, every single one is different. So define the benefit for a reader. Why is this story good for them to read? Is it just entertaining? Does it have a subtle message that you weave in that is meant to either motivate, inspire, or teach? There's all kinds of things that we can do in those books, right? So what's the benefit for the reader that when they get done, they go, wow, that was cool. That's my goal, is to have someone do that. That's the idea. And when you're writing it and when you're having it edited and all, it can be kind of disappointing because it's all about the mechanics and everything at some point, and you don't really get that from your editor or from your book coach or from one of your writer buddies. You don't quite get that, oh, it was so good. A target reader will do that. And so I need to make sure and say what that benefit that target reader is going to get, so that I can uncover those people and they'll tell more people, and then my book will be more successful. Now, if you're already published, does the back of your book description connect to a benefit for the reader? Is the hook there? Remember I said the 8 seconds and then the longer one? I did that for the back of even, my marketing playbook. But the idea is to have two pieces of it. The idea of the 8-second hook. How are you going to hook them? And then the second piece of it, do you have there as far as what the benefit is, how much they're going to enjoy your book, and why? Okay. So think about that. Now, if you're aspiring and haven't finished your book yet or whatever, remember to write up the description with that benefit ready to go, your hook and your benefit ready to go when you finish your novel or your short story, whatever it is. Make sure you've got those, the 8-second and the 30-second descriptions ready to go as the benefit to the reader. Okay, so I know it sounds kind of silly, but I really believe strongly in doing it now and making sure that it's all there, so that you can layer upon that with your marketing instead of it just being kind of hodgepodge. This will help glue that all together for you. Now, kind of fun, but the homework is the target reader worksheet. So I have a little worksheet for you that I sent this morning. And the idea is for you to fill it out, do this as your homework just to identify even more clearly who your target reader is. And how I would relate this to a business is that I would have, who is my perfect client or customer? Who is that one that I'm targeting? Because that target market is the one that will most likely buy whatever product or service that I'm going to market. So if that's the case, then I need to know them really well so that I can craft all my messages to hook them of their interest, and then also to give them enough to make a decision that they're ready to buy. So I hope that makes sense. But the other piece of it is also making sure that you feel comfortable with it. Now, can you change it up and all? Yes, you can continue to tweak both your author brand and your target reader. You can tweak them as you find more and more success in some things, or you find, that it's not quite working in some of the wording that you have. That's fine. But the idea is that you do the exercise, the author brand, and glue all of your who you are together for your marketing, and use the target reader for all the messaging to make sure that your content is going to resonate with the right people that will be excited and want to read your book and then hopefully leave you a review, right? So with that in mind, I wanted you to at least know the first piece is who reads your genre. So before you have your target reader specifically, who does read your genre? Or the one that you're creating the marketing for? Because I know some of you have different genres that you like to do. So making sure you know with each of those, because you will be, I understand you will be doing this series for, maybe it's a mystery and this is more of a romantic suspense. Well, both of those have different target readers. Do not try to cross over people in different genres. You know how we are, human beings, they don't like change. If they have a genre they like, they're going to stick with it. And so try not to cross-sell for target readers with those that aren't necessarily interested in your genre at all. It's like my girlfriend I told you, she was like, I don't do mysteries. Okay. So I know that, but if I do something else that I find out she likes, I can then do all of my messaging with that. But then it would mean having two different things, and it's easy to do, but it's also just like any big company has different brand lines. They may have, their, dishwashing soaps over here, and they may have their hand sanitizers over here. I'm just being kind of facetious, but they are different and they're for different purposes. Different people are going to pick them up. Same for you. You can do that. You can have your overall brand, and then you can have your different series, and just making sure though that you identify a different target reader. Have the same brand is fine, but the target reader for your different series or whatever you're doing can be slightly different. And what authors are similar to yours? Go look online and just see what they're doing and identify those that are like yours. The other benefit there is that when you're talking to your target reader and you say, well, mine is like author X with their, amateur mystery, their amateur sleuth, or it might be their cozy mystery, or whatever it is. The idea is that sometimes it's easier to also give that target reader an idea of one they may have read, and if not, they may go look them up too. But the idea is that it's in that same genre. They get it. Oh, okay, you're kind of like them. Oh, I did like that one. I'm going to pick hers up. Okay, so just remembering identifying like reads is a great way to uncover interest for target readers. And not for them to buy theirs, but to know that you are similar to one of those other authors. Okay. And if you get stuck, remember to try the mirror technique. Just look in the mirror and say, what do I like and why? And then finally, why are your stories worth a read? What is it that you have that you're offering is really giving a lot of interest to the target readers? Why are they wanting to pick up, and waiting with bated breath for your second in the series or whatever, right? Why are they? Now, when I say this, the same thing happens when I'm trying to market a product or service. Why is it better than someone else's? Why do I care that I want to be aligned with this author rather than, this author in this genre? What is it that you're wanting to identify with? Because we like to make sure if we, have someone we like, then we are going to read everything that they write, type of thing. But if I don't know why my story isn't worth a read, then I'm a little stuck. So once again, who reads your genre? What about other authors similar and identify like reads? Try the mirror technique. And then finally, make sure you know why your stories are worth a read, because they do have to be good to be able to then get someone to come back for the next one and the next one and the next one, right? I mean, we still have to have a good product. We still do. But the idea is that once you get someone hooked and into your target reader audience, you also have someone that will likely get the second one or the third one or recommend it to their library. All those things that are really important for us as authors to be able to cut through the clutter of all the competition out there for eyeballs, right? Everybody wants them to see theirs and to buy theirs or to read theirs. So let's make sure they're worth the read as well. Now, with that in mind, the idea that's really fun is that you have your author brand that you can also now use for some of the target reader profile, just blend the two together. Because if I am this author brand and this is what I'm writing and the genre and all, and then I identify who it is that's really going to love my story, is really going to love my book. Now I have the basis for being able to then, create that content, those words that will get them interested in actually getting your book, or when it comes out, that they'll be waiting and, can't wait to see what it's going to be. And I love the idea that everybody has been, trying to do things on more and more on Amazon, but also through all the other platforms that are indie published, that are, doing it themselves. And much like I did with my marketing book, I did it indie because I really wanted to get it out to help my writer buddies. So for me, that idea is still really good to be able to try that. The kicker is still that we have to do all the marketing stuff if we want to sell more. If you don't care how many you sell, okay, that's fine. That's the hobbyist. But if you're a writing business and you want to make some money at it, you can do really well in indie publishing. And while I know a lot of people think the only way to do it is to go through the traditional route, fine, try it, but also remember that there's some real value if you can grasp these basic tenets of marketing that I've been talking about and do your marketing plan and be able to identify who would be a good reader. Now you're building your own business and you can make good money if you are tenacious about it, that you're after it. That in some cases it's hard because you have to wait, as a debut author, you may have to wait 2 years before your book will even hit the shelves. So anyway, ideas that you can do it yourself and using these steps for getting yourself your author brand and your reader profile started, very first steps to being able to launch your own. So with that in mind, I want to make sure now and turn it over to some questions and answers about what's going on. Remember too, you can always go onto our Facebook group and talk to each other, ask questions. If you have something you need to ask me about, you can always do that on the Facebook group too.